So I have this idea of building a mug holder, something that's simple and modern and sleek, and it'll make a great gift, and it'll help crowd some of the mugs that are taking up counter space, and it will also act as a nice display. But before we get started, I am Anika, and I am here to demystify DIY and inspire and empower you to build all of the things. I have a ton of project ideas, tool tutorials, free resources, and courses to help you in the journey to becoming a confident builder. So definitely take a look at all of those in the description below. And now, let's get building. Okay, now the mug holder is pretty much made out of scrap wood, and I had all of this in my scrap wood pile. So number one, I had a 1x8, which I cut down to 7 1/4 inch long. So basically it's a square, 7 1/4 by 7 1/4 inch square. And then I also have a piece of 1x6, which is also cut down to be a square, so 5 1/2 by 5 1/2 square. And then I have a 2x2, which is going to be the post over here, which is 12 inches long, and that's where we are going to attach our dowels, which are going to hold the mug. Now, all of this is really straightforward. The challenging part is how to attach this dowel, because you could totally add the towel in like this at a right angle, which is okay, but I would be more comfortable adding my towels at a slight angle so that the mugs go in at that angle, and that would be the best thing to do. Now, that's where things get a little challenging, and the best way to do this would probably be on a drill press, where you could create some sort of a jig to hold the board like this, so when you drill the holes, you drill them at an angle. I do have a drill press, but I know that not everyone has one, so we are going to figure out how to do it without a drill press. We're just going to use a drill and do it. And to be honest, I already did a few trial runs. I tried out a few different ideas, and you can see a whole bunch of holes in these boards, and I think I figured out how to do that. It did work out a couple of times, but we'll see how repeatable it is. Now here's what I did. I cut down this piece of 2x2 at a 15-degree angle. So, and it does not need to be too thick. So this is only about 3/4 inch thick over here. And it really doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be accurate. But this is our block that we're going to turn into a jig. Okay, first things first, we're going to find the center of this block. Now we are going to do this on the slanted face. And the best way to find the center is to mark both of the diagonals. And that is the center. Now I'm using a drill with a brad point, and this pointed tip makes sure that as you are drilling your hole, the drill doesn't walk around and you get that precise location of the hole. And I'm using a 3/8 inch drill bit here because the dowel is 3/8 inch diameter. Okay, now I am going to use a scrap board, and we're going to place the block on this with the slanted end facing upwards. Now I need to clamp this really well, so I'm clamping the block to the board and then the board to the workbench. And now I'm going to use my brad point drill bit and make a hole straight down through the block. You do want to make sure that you keep your drill bit perfectly straight as you make the hole through. Now this block is the jig, and I can turn this over with the slanted end on the bottom and make a hole. And this one is a hole with a slant. So when I add a dowel into it, it's going to be slanted. And now that I know that this concept works, I'm gonna go ahead and make all of the holes in the post and add in the dowels. So we are going to measure about 1.5 inches from the top. And on the other side, we are going to go about 6 or 7 inches, maybe 6.5. 6.5 is a good sign. Let's do 6.5 inches. So we are, again, on this side, it's 1.5 inches, and over here, it is 6.5. So those are where we are going to be adding the dowels. And I'm going to align my jig to the board and make sure that I can see the mark in the middle of the hole. And we're gonna go ahead and clamp it in place. Clamp this board and drill. Now I did forget to mark the depth on this drill. So we're just gonna use whatever I have drilled here as the guide and put the tape around that. Now I have to make sure that that is deep enough. So let's do that. That is perfect. So now I can go ahead and repeat this for each of the dowels. And now we can just add in the dowels. And that's how it's going to be. For the boards that were going to form the bottom plate, I decided to use a router and chamfer all the edges. Now, of course, this is completely optional, but I just like the little bit of an elevated look that the chamfer brings in. I sanded down all the boards, and now it's time to attach the bottom to the post. So I found the center of the bottom of the board using the two diagonals and pre-drilled that hole. And also I found the center on the bottom of my post and pre-drilled that hole. Then I started the screw on the base, and once it was sticking out, I attached the post, made sure it aligned with the pre-drilled hole, and then attached it. Of course, I forgot to add wood glue, so I took it apart, added the wood glue, and put it together again. Now, as you can see, I had to fumble around with it a little bit, but it would be best to have clamped one of the boards and then attached it, but in the end, it all worked out. Then I added glue into each of the holes and added the dowels in. I made sure to wipe away any of that glue squeeze out because I don't want it to be interfering with the stain that I'm going to apply to it. Okay, so this is the mug holder, and to be honest, I was actually going to attach this to this just to sort of create a pedestal. So this was my original plan, but now that I have this built as is, I kind of like it. That's simple and straightforward, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and skip this bottom piece, but you could totally do that if you wanted to. So you can add that on here, you can glue it up, clamp it, leave it to dry overnight, or you could add a few countersunk screws on the bottom. But if this is the look that you want, you can totally go for it. We're gonna leave it like this. Also at the top, you could add a wood finial, or you could add a knob to add some more character to it, however you want it. We're gonna leave it as is. I'm gonna go ahead and stain it, and we're just gonna let the mugs shine. I applied a pre-stain conditioner and a water-based stain to the entire holder. I do have a detailed tutorial on how to apply stain, both oil-based and water-based, so definitely check that out. And once the stain was dry, I applied a couple coats of polyurethane to make sure that our entire holder is protected from any moisture. I added a few rubber feet to keep it from slipping around. And there it is. I absolutely love how simple yet stylish it is, and it makes a great thoughtful gift as well. If you enjoyed this project or want to try it yourself, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more beginner-friendly DIY project ideas. And let me know in the comments, who would you make this for? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next project.